Right now I'm happy to welcome Rachel, who will share her story with us. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. So in July of 2015, I found out that I was pregnant. My husband and I had just gotten married, and we were looking forward to starting a family. And we were really excited to find out that I was pregnant, and I called my best friend at midnight, her time, to woke her up, and she knew that we were trying to have a baby, so she answered by saying, "You're pregnant," and I said, "I am." So we were very excited, and the first few months were pretty uneventful, and we went to our 20-week ultrasound, and we were pretty excited to get pictures to share with our friends and family. And it was my first ultrasound, my first pregnancy. The tech was kind of quiet, asked if all our blood work had come back okay, and I thought those were kind of routine questions. And then she said, the doctor needs to come in and talk to you. And the doctor came in and said, we're seeing some abnormalities. We don't know what they are right now, but we'll need you to see a specialist. We're going to make a referral. And it just felt like being punched in the gut. We didn't really know what to ask. We didn't know what to say. So the doctor tried to stay positive and said, well, maybe you just have a small baby, or there could be, maybe I'm not seeing things correctly. So we tried to stay positive and waited to get in with the perinatal specialist. But that took a little bit of time. So about 3 weeks later, we got in there. That ultrasound was about an hour long, and I'm not a doctor, but I could tell from the ultrasound that something was really wrong. They couldn't find his stomach. They couldn't find all his organs. My husband and I were just watching as they were looking at his heart and just trying to figure out, does he have all of his organs to survive? How bad is this diagnosis? And neither one of us really wanted to say anything. And the doctor came in, and we were hoping he might have some good news for us, like maybe there were things that could be done. And he said, I'm seeing a lot of abnormalities. I can't make a confirmed diagnosis, so I would like to recommend further prenatal testing in the form of amniocentesis. And so we'd agreed to that. And of course, it was around Thanksgiving, so there was a delay in getting the results back. And then in the meantime, he would send our ultrasounds off to a specialist. So I called the doctor pretty much every day with new questions, just as the shock of of hearing that kind of wore off. And the more I learned, the more it became really clear that if I carried my son to term, that he would suffer. And if he did survive birth, that he would have to undergo multiple surgeries until essentially one of the complications killed him. And that the pregnancy could become dangerous to myself. And I live in a rural part of Missouri, so I would have to travel to a larger hospital to give birth for the safety of myself and my son. And it just became clear to me that I didn't want him to suffer, that I didn't want to leave my husband without his wife and his son on the same day. And I didn't really know how, we would have figured it out, I guess, but how to manage giving birth and having to be somewhere else for that period of time. So we made the decision that we would wait for our amniocentesis, but that we most likely would get an abortion. So I called the doctor and I told him we decided that we would like to terminate the pregnancy. And he said, I support your decision, but there's nothing I can do to help you. In my state, we were past the time frame in which I could terminate, and because he said, if the amniocentesis comes back with a conclusive diagnosis, then we may be able to do something. But if not, I'll have to refer you. So essentially, if the amniocentesis came back saying that there was a severe risk to my health, well, the amniocentesis didn't come back conclusive. With a conclusive diagnosis, just that there was something wrong. So he referred us to Dr. Hearn in Colorado, who is one of the 4 doctors in the United States that will perform abortions that late in pregnancy. I was 25 weeks at this point. And so my husband and I drove the 10 hours to Colorado. It's a 4-day procedure. We took out a loan to cover the cost of the procedure. Insurance would not cover it. And on the 4th day, on Friday, I was in labor for about 8 hours, delivered my son at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm the only one to have held him outside of my womb, as well as the doctor. And then I left the clinic without him and drove the 10 hours back home and was back at work on Monday morning. And I remember that the doctor asked me, you know, how are you feeling? And I honestly felt relief was my first feeling, because from the moment I heard that there was something wrong, I was scared that someone would force me to have him and make him suffer.
Right.
Instead of giving me the option.
How do the anti-choice policies that Scott Lloyd and others propose, how do they make you feel in light of your story, making it harder for women to have abortions, period?
It makes me so angry. I'm just going to use a choice word there, but because I am, you know, and earlier she talked about privilege, but I'm a woman of privilege. I have a husband, I have a family, I have a job that allows me to take PTO. I have a bank that gave me a loan, you know, and it was hard enough for me to get the health care that I needed. And here's somebody who doesn't even understand what it's like to be in that situation, imposing his own twisted agenda on someone else who is probably scared, and or just wants health care, even if she's not scared. Maybe she's, you know, maybe she just knows what she wants, and why does he think he knows better?
Rock on. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Incredible.